In Las Vegas in 2015, the number one DJ hired to spin records in clubs was paid $56 million. So if you happen to have a kid at home living in your basement who can't do anything but spin records, pack his crap up and send his butt to Vegas. The number two guy made $38 million. The bartenders got minimum wage and tips. The manager of the club, where the DJ made $56 million, made $128,000. The main showroom act, entertainers in the Caesars Palace Theater, their compensation added together was $12 million. The DJ spinning records got $56 million. What this illustrates is the often really discomforting reality about why people get paid what they get paid. And typically, the more they get, the less it has to do with what they do. And therefore, how they do it, comparatively how well they do it, it just does not have much to do with the deliverables. Now, this is very disconcerting to people who are really into their deliverables. Again, I was just talking to Frank at lunch, and the Italian small business owners who are coming to his registration number, he's got the largest marketing event ever held in Europe. I should have charged more. My only consolation is I think Jay Abraham's speaking for free. The Italian small business owners, he warns me, are worse than ours in the respect, and I said with some justification, that they are really into their craft because they're real craftsmen. So, you know, the guy that has a shoe parlor over there, he actually makes shoes, and they're actually good shoes. Guy with a shoe store over here is selling junk that was made in China and is put together with glue, and he don't care about a shoe one way or the other. So they have an even bigger mental problem than our small business people do about where money comes from, okay? Because they are really into their deliverables. And for a long time, healthcare professionals, big problem, still is for most of them. They're into the comparative differential quality of the deliverable is what should drive demand, and most important, what should drive compensation. And it doesn't. And something like that demonstrates it. So, as uncomfortable as it is, and kind of relevant to next year's entire meeting, is the thing to get and the thing to remember that you won't like, and most of your peers would hate and would never admit, is that the higher up the monetary food chain we go in our compensation and the nature of the people from whom we get it, the more we are paid for who we are and who we are perceived to be by them, then we are paid for what we do. So I have this client, I mention him from time to time, he's a really good guy. He is a money under management advisor for people who've sold companies for $20 million or more. And Ted is a perfect package of stories for that audience. His life story is terrific. His childhood story is terrific. His current charitable activity story is terrific. And Ted is perfect for them. He's like Will Rogers, Andy Griffith on Mayberry. What's his name on Longmire? He's that guy, right? And we have this, what I'm really getting paid now for is every month fighting off everybody who is around him on a day-to-day basis who keeps trying to make him talk about what he does and show pie charts. And I'm like, I want to burn the pie charts, and I want you to stop talking about the Fed, and I want you to stop talking about diversified, derivative, portfolio stuff. I want you to talk about Ted. That's what I want you to talk about. Right? And I want them to see you on video at your ranch house in Wyoming with a cow wandering around and a ukulele leaned against the thing and a tin cup in your hand. And I want you to talk about how you were the first person in your family who went to college. And you had to start selling shit door to door when you were 12 to pay for your own clothes. And you had outdoor plumbing. That's what I want you to talk about. I don't want you to talk about wealth management and Goldman Sachs. And I've been successful at it, but it is still a month-to-month struggle. And every time they send me something, oh, my son and this team, they just redid the whole website. Here's the website printed out. I'm going, where's Ted? There's no Ted. Ted's books are on like page 56. You got to scroll, click, jump over here, jump over there. Where's the Ted videos? Well, you wouldn't know they were there. I mean, Ted don't appear when you log on, when you get in there. Ted don't magically appear walking across the porch talking. No, you got to find Ted. And then the first two videos, they did it with a green screen and they got Ted with books behind him. So does every other stinking financial advisor, right? They all got the same books, for Christ's sake. Let alone going, Ted, please, I want a cow. I don't want books, you know? And it's so hard for people to get this, and you fall back away from it. If you got credentials you worked real hard to get, you want to believe that's the thing, you know? If you got an alphabet soup of letters after your name, you want to believe that like is important. But it's who you are perceived to be to them. And affinity matters more than credibility, and story matters more than facts, and all the differentiation is in who we are. You should know, I personally hate this. I do not like it. I have made my peace with it, but I don't like it. I would like to make all my money with nobody knowing anything about me. That would be terrific. I hate all of this. Okay? And now I used to hate it and not have made my peace with it. I made my peace with it. But I don't like it. So this is not about me telling you something that is my preferred and favored business model. It isn't. It just happens to be the one that works best. Therefore, so Halbert and I had this conversation very early in my actually knowing Gary. Now, I knew of Gary long before I knew Gary, because Gary's original business, for those of you who don't know, was the family crest business. So Gary wrote one of the most mailed sales letters in the history of sales letters from Nancy L. Halbert. If you didn't get one, your parents all got it. Ask your mom. And arriving and saying, we've researched the Garmin family genealogy, and we have a picture of the Garmin family crest and some information about the Garmin family crest, and we'll send it to you for $5 or $9 or whatever it was. And there began Operation Money Suck. Well, this was all here. It was, Gary lived in Barberton, Ohio, same place Doberman Dan, if you know Dan grew up, where Dan was a cop. And one of Gary's business methods is all the orders came in the mail. In the first round, the $9 or whatever it was, it either came in checks or it came in cash. A lot of it came in cash. So he rented space above bank branches, wherever he could find it, and brought workers in to open up the envelopes and separate the money, just like televangelists do. Separate the money, throw the orders in a basket, stack up the money, and then it could go right downstairs to the bank. That was his system. So where I went to high school, there was a bank branch in Bath, Ohio, where all the kids went and worked after school on the top floor of the bank branch at big tables like these, sitting there, opening envelopes, taking out money. So, I mean, everybody knew who he was. I didn't meet him till many years later. But so Halbert and I had this conversation. And in other fields, I've had the same conversation. But so we were talking about the copywriting business. And Halbert said, you understand, we're not in the copywriting business. He said, low-paid people are in the copywriting business. He said, we're in the self-aggrandizement business, and we happen to hand over some copy to get the money. But if you think you're in the copywriting business, you will be poor your entire life. And he was right. Okay? And so there's a difference, for example, between me at, let's say, $100,000 for a marketing project and somebody at $10,000. There is a skilled level, there is a experience level, there is a difference. It is not a 10x difference. It ain't that big. It might be 2 on average, but I charge 10. How can you charge 10x for something that is only really a 2x? It's this. It's how you are, who you are perceived to be by the people you do business with, not what you do. Furthermore, so Melissa Rivers, Joan's daughter, she says one of the things Joan told her that has helped her the most is you get to be a giant pain in the ass in direct proportion to how valuable people believe you are to them. This is it. So if you want to go through life indulging being a giant pain in the ass, you have to make yourself highly valuable to some people. At least they think you're highly valuable. So I always joke about the Guthrie Renker thing, which has now gone on for, I don't know how many years, 1986. How many years is that? 1986. 29 years. 29 years they've been giving me money. Here's why they started giving me money. So I sold the manufacturing division of this horrible company I had gotten to Bill Guthrie. And mostly he bought it just to stop me from competing with him. He didn't really want the business, but there's lots of reasons people buy companies. And while we were concluding this thing, Bill says, you know, we got our show on the air, this Think and Grow Rich thing, and it's starting to fade. Do you want to take a look at it and see if you could figure out how to get it back up to where it needs to be to stay on the air? I said, sure. How are you going to pay me? And we agreed on how he's going to pay me. And I fixed it. Then they did Personal Power 1. And all I did for Personal Power 1 was rewrite the call to action, the actual, and you get this, and you get this, and you get this. And so Think and Grow Rich came back up and ran another 2.5 years at satisfactory performance and made, for its day, a lot of money as a TV infomercial. Personal Power 1, of course, was a huge hit. Right? They now perceived, they believed, that there was some magical connection between me and the success of these shows. So now they didn't want to do anything unless they rubbed it on my head like I was a Buddha doll. That's the deal, right? Is they didn't want to do anything unless they could smear me on it in order to ensure its success. So I was perceived as the magic ingredient that we dare not proceed without. And there's too much at risk with everything we do to risk finding out that actually it ain't him. So this is superstition. You understand what this is? This is, I'm not taking my lucky socks off until we lose a game. That's what this is. Okay? There's no split testing. It's the Think and Grow Rich. There was some legitimate, but Personal Power 1, who knows? I have no idea. We don't know. Nobody knows. I wrote a CTA and we used it. Lenny produced the show. They paid celebrities to be in it. Tony certainly has skill. I mean, who knows, right? But I'm now the lucky socks. That's what I am. And I've gotten a lot of money for being a lucky socks. It's all about perception, right? It's who you are perceived to be by the constituency from which you want to get money. Understanding this early on, as much as I detested it, I made my peace with it. I got Halbert's position. Okay, I get it. No matter how good I get at the deliverable, that is not going to be the key to rising compensation. Now, almost everybody acts as if it is because it's the most logical thing. It's kind of what we were brought up with, and we'd prefer to believe it. So every professional speaker, they're all at NSA. I haven't been in a decade. I'm going to go. I'm going to see the same thing. They're all in sessions about how to breathe, how to orate, how to do everything up here better. And that will somehow rise your compensation and prominence. No, it won't. No, it won't. In fact, some of the best speakers I've ever seen are broke. We're broke, are broke, will be broke, will continually be broke. When I got Foster Hibbert, he was like the best speaker I'd ever seen. Broke. Right? I mean, he had gotten really good at the deliverable. But that ain't it. Right? And it's true in the best chiropractor I know in America is dead broke. Right? And a few of the richest ones who I know really well and like them a lot, I wouldn't let them adjust me on a bet. Right? I mean, so far as I know, they haven't killed or crippled anybody, but I know enough that they ain't getting anywhere near my back. So this, why people get paid is really important to get a grip on, and it is totally different than what 99.9% of the people believe about why people get money. And in a sense, all the befuddlement about why America elected Trump is in the same kind of category. There's this huge body of belief about why people become president and why the public elects them. And part of that belief is, well, they got to come close to telling the truth. And they got to have policy. And There was 3 months of, he doesn't have any policy statements up on the website. And Jeb Bush is going, there's a 46-page policy statement about this, and there's an 86-page policy statement about that. Go to my site, you can see the policy statement. We have a fully formed tax plan. He's got 5 sentences. What the hell? This is, see, they didn't get it, right? And they didn't want to get it, and they still don't want to get it. And the few that get it resent it, and they hate it. And I had a long-time speaker on, so Peter Lowe events were interesting for me in the speaking community because 2 things happened. People who couldn't stand me would come and want to know how to get on the tour. And that now all of a sudden they were my best friends. It was like, well, we've been buddies our whole lives. No, we haven't. You know. And a few were more honest. So they would actually face-to-face say, I can't believe you're on that tour. I know 100 speakers who are better than you are. You suck up there. You won't walk out from behind the damn thing. You jiggle your keys in your pub. I mean, they got a list, right, of why I shouldn't be there. They didn't get, I said, you don't understand. It isn't about that. It's how they can promote me. It's who the audience thinks I am. And it's the fact that I can sell a lot of shit. That's what this is. You can take your alphabet soup and your PhDs and you can stick them where the sun don't shine because that doesn't matter in this environment. It doesn't. So you got to know what really matters, whether you like it or not, that governs compensation in the real world. And it is not what most people think it is. High Point University says the first kid that's refused to go to the mandatory life skills classes. He's now not going to any classes. But truth be told, in my opinion, the mandatory life skills classes that are only taught at HPU, that Cobain teaches personally, are more valuable than all the regular classes and the degree the kid's going to get when he gets out of there. Right? Because Cobain is actually, more elegantly than I would, telling them, here's how money works in the real world. Here's why it moves from person to person and place to place. And nobody else is going to tell. They don't got that class at Harvard. They don't have it. They don't have it at Cleveland State, and they don't have it at Harvard. So the more you go up in affluent clientele, patients, customers, donors, and the more your compensation goes up. Both of those things. The higher you go, the more dependent it is on who you are perceived to be rather than on what you do and how you do it. To the point, to Melissa's point, that how you do what you do can actually be somewhere between inconvenient, unreasonable, and abusive. So Halbert, I used to get a discarded client now and then toward the end, really disaffected, you know. I would always call Gary first and say, you know, so-and-so showed up at my doorstep, and he's like livid with you. And is it, you want me to take him or you want me to throw him back? All right, take him. Because here's Halbert's idea of a copywriting project for you. Let's say you're going to have him do a full-page ad, which is the last one that, but most didn't mutiny. I mean, these mutinies were few and far between. So this was Alex going. So Alex calls and he says, you're supposed to have this ad done a month ago. I got space bought. I need an ad. He's supposed to have this ad done. I said, yeah, well, but it's Gary, right? You'll get it when he finally gets it, and it'll be great. You know. I says, you don't understand. I got to have this ad. So 2 weeks ago, I sent my daughter down there, the director of marketing. She was supposed to go down, like manage him for a day or two, and come back with the ad. She's been there for 2 weeks. Every time I talk to her, it's what John said last time. They're in Gary's Cadillac and they're driving around Key West. They're dropping off his cleaning. They're going to the coffee shop. They're parking over by a dock and talking about the meaning of life. He says they're cleaning the litter box in his apartment. They're on his stupid boat. They're doing everything but doing this ad. I got to have this ad. I said, I'll call him, right? I'll call him for you. I get Gary. I said, Gary, you're one step away, right? Alex is like apoplectic. You've got to do this ad. And Gary says, yeah, I know. And she's like leaving tomorrow. So I guess I got to do it, right? I said, yeah, you took 50 grand. You got to do it, you know? This was what has to happen. They are at the Key West airport. She needs to go to her flight. He has 4 grocery bags in the back of the Cadillac, which he dumps the stuff out of, rips them apart so he has paper, and he writes the ad on the hood of the car. This is what she takes back in her suitcase for 50 grand. Right? It's got grease stains, from right? By the way, a great ad, right? I tried 3 times to beat the control. I couldn't beat the control. All mine worked, but they didn't work as good as this. It's great. But why would anybody put up with that? Because of who they perceived him to be. Not just because the ad worked. Everybody said, well, it's Halbert. All right? And Halbert managed to convince people that this was the key to his genius. You had to let this happen. Right? And so think about now the unreasonableness of how I make clients behave. It's borderline abusive. You can't call me, like ever. You have to make an appointment. It works this way with most of my friends, the few I have, and it works this way with family, with everybody. You can't call me. You have to make a phone appointment. And it may be a month from now, because I only do them on 2 days a month. So, you missed that day. It's right. It's I make somebody happy every day. Today ain't your day. We draw one out of the hat every day. I make happy. The rest of you, sorry. All right? You can't call me. All right? You got to wait for everything. You got to come to Cleveland. You got to get your own ass to the hotel, which is the La Quinta, because we're not really in Cleveland. I don't even let them stay here. They have to stay at the La Quinta. You guys all know what a La Quinta is. I mean, it's clean, but it's a La Quinta. Right? I mean, it doesn't have a restaurant. So in the dead of winter, if they Ubered, always tell them, rent a car, You're not in cab country. If they Ubered, and they don't want to Uber just to go get food, they have to walk through the snow to the Bob Evans. This is their night before I pick them up for their consulting day. I'm picking them up in one of these vehicles that may or may not get us from the La Quinta back to my house. Right? And most of them make disturbing noises and the seatbelts don't work in any of them. So it's like, don't fasten that, because I don't know if I can get you out. Right? I mean, so think about this. How the hell does anybody get away with this? Not because of the deliverable. Now, the deliverable has to be good, but it's because of what I have cultivated, who they perceive me to be. That's the game that people don't really understand is the game. And so I keep coming around with clients and having to work on this and everything that orbits around it more and more and more. They keep sliding back out of it. So it's why I decided to make it next year's event. And the price day, that's like you, and it's like add a zero, and that's, so people have more hang-ups about price than they do about sex. And so there's room for another day on price.